Guys, thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me. We're going to talk for a few minutes about getting into the court and clarify some things on strategy. Obviously, I don't care that they know about the strategy. Guys, there's some rules in spiritual warfare. You guys don't know about it. There's some rules. One of those rules is that you have to notify the opposition of your intentions. You can't surprise them, because they can't say later on that, hey, we didn't know, right? And so, I don't have any problem whatsoever with them knowing my strategy, right? Because I actually want them to concede before I get back to DC. That's really what we're trying to do, you guys, honestly, because that's going to be the least destructive approach to all of this, is that they step up and see this train wreck coming. They understand the power of what it is that we're bringing, and they say, you know what? We don't want to have this issue argued in the public domain and have us look like a bunch of traitors, right? Be subject to the laws of treason. So we want them to concede. That's why I'm being as open as I am about everything. That's why I'm being as open as I am about the strength of the case. That's why I'm being open as much as possible about my intentions, because there's a spiritual requirement that I must notify them of my intentions so that they can't say that they didn't know. So we're going to talk a few minutes here about the strategy getting into the court. Now, that being said, you guys, there's a number of groups right now that are trying to do the same thing, okay? There's a group that's out trying to do habeas corpuses, mass habeas corpuses. And unfortunately, that's already been done, okay? It's already been done, okay? In 2019, between April 10th, 2019 and September 2019, I had over 4,000 writs of habeas corpus submitted to the United States District Court of the Western District of Washington. All the exact same habeas corpus that I prepared. I wrote it, and I had all of those people submit the exact same habeas corpus. Exact same grounds and everything. Because I was trying to put everybody into the same procedural situation. That's how you get a class action started. You can't do a class action any other way, okay? And so people that are saying, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to do a mass habeas corpus, I'm going to tell you that's already been done 6 years ago. I'm 6 years ahead of such action. But what's happening now is that people are taking what I'm doing and they're attempting to do it themselves. And unfortunately, that's causing discourse. It's causing division within what I'm trying to organize, because it's already been organized. It's already been done. The paperwork is over. The only thing left right now is that I need the people to say that they are in the same procedural situation. That's the point of these affidavits. Show that all of you have had the exact same crime committed against you in the exact same manner by an agent of the state, and in doing so, I can litigate every single one of them at one time. One time, that's it, one time. So the habeas has already been submitted. I've already taken it all the way through the state courts. I've taken it all the way through the federal circuit courts, and we are at the Supreme Court right now. That's what these 40-day trips around the country is all about. That's why I'm in Denver right now, getting ready to do another town hall meeting, and I'm praying that you guys come out and support this. Because if you guys will get behind me, all for one, then when I effectively litigate, right, and I win the argument, it will be one for all. You all, as long as you're in the same procedural situation, then I can litigate one case and we can win for everybody in the same procedural situation. Now, what's a procedural situation? A procedural situation is the exact same standard operating procedure, right? Guys, tyrants are all exactly the same. The reason why a state judge does the things that he does is because he was trained by his boss to do it a certain way. So if they have a procedure that's in place that says that the states can create laws that abridge fundamental constitutional rights, that would be unconstitutional. There's no denying that would be unconstitutional. States do not have the right to create their own legislation and then substitute them for the provisions and guarantees of the Constitution of the United States of America. Right? They cannot do that. That's the heart of our issue here. These states are creating laws and then going out and enforcing them in violation of the Constitution of the United States of America. That is called an emolument violation, you guys. You cannot create a law that directs someone to break the law. And if the law is the Constitution, no state can create a law that directs their agents to break the law. Okay? That's simple concept here. So we have a habeas corpus. It's already done. I have 4,000 people that petitioned between April 10, 2019 and September 2019 on the exact same procedural situation. That the state of Washington decided that it was going to create a law in its inferior state constitution that abridges the very specifically enumerated fundamental constitutional rights in the Bill of Rights. And then they directed their prosecutors to go out and enforce the inferior state law in violation of the Constitution of the United States of America. That is a crime. Deprivation of rights under color of law. That law is unconstitutional in Washington state. Unconstitutional all day long because it's directing the prosecutors to break the Constitution. So when I get the procedural situation identified, right, and I say, okay, the state created a law and its inferior state statute that abridges the fundamental rights and guarantees of the people of the United States, and then they went out and they started enforcing the inferior state law. Guys, the 14th Amendment says no state shall create or enforce any law that shall abridge the privileges and immunities of United States citizens. No state shall create or enforce any law that shall abridge the privileges and immunities of United States citizens. No state can create a law that interferes with any of the fundamental enumerated rights contained within the first 10 amendments to the Bill of Rights. They cannot do it. But when they did do it, that meant that the law is unconstitutional. And if the law is unconstitutional, then that means that every contract that the law creates is also unconstitutional. That's why we don't fight these at the individual case level, because all we got to do is just fight the state law. Because if the state law is deemed unconstitutional, remember, Norton versus Shelby County, United States Supreme Court, an unconstitutional law is not unconstitutional from the moment deemed such, but rather from the moment created as it was never created at all. Because any law that's unconstitutional is no law at all. Therefore, the contracts that it creates, the judgments of guilt that it creates, whether it's a plea bargain, whether it's a trial, it doesn't matter. Those contracts are all void because they derive from a void unconstitutional law. Very simple. Very, very simple. But I need everybody to get behind this because I'm already 6 years ahead of what these other people are talking about doing. I cannot afford to have any discourse brought into this at this point in time. I'm not traveling around the country right now for my health or my pleasure. This sucks. I just spent the entire night on a train after going to Chicago and having 2 people show up in Chicago. 2 people. I paid $280 for a room so we could have people show up, and I had 20-some people that said that they would come and nobody came. I don't have the money to do this, you guys. I don't have the ability. I need you guys to support this. But if we're going to have groups that are going to go off and try to reinvent the wheel that's already been invented, then we got a problem. Because all that's doing is causing discourse and division. So, we have a writ that's already at the Supreme Court that deals with the familial unit, that deals with prisoners, that deals with guardianships. It deals with all of these issues all in one, and I'm going to explain how it's one in one moment. But more importantly, we already have a massive number of habeases that were all submitted between April 10, 2019 and September 2019. I have over 4,000 people already submitted to the court, right? And we have already requested the application of the class action device in the habeas corpus proceeding in accordance with Rule 23 of the USCS Rules of Civil Procedure. So I've already asked for the class action to be applied to this habeas corpus proceeding at the Supreme Court. They are already authorizing it as we speak. But if you guys are looking for someone new, someone different, someone with a guys, they're simply coming in and doing the same thing that I'm doing, but they're years behind it. They don't understand the mechanics of getting into this court. So how are we getting into the court? Guys, indictment by a grand jury is the mechanism that we're using to get in. You will not get into the court any other way, because you must have an enumerated constitutional right violated by the state law, which then forecloses upon the petitioner's procedural situation, and that drives you out of the state courts. You see, if a state creates a law that abridges a fundamental constitutional right, normally when you bring it into the federal court, normally the federal court says, oh, you got to go exhaust remedies. You got to go argue with the state and get a decision from the state before you can bring it into federal court. Not true. Because the law says, federal law says, right? It says that if the state has a law that's in place that forecloses upon the petitioner's procedural situation, then the exhaustion of state remedies mandate is waived. Gone. You don't have to argue with the state and get a decision from the state, because the state has already made a decision by enacting an unconstitutional law. You don't go to a state to argue with whether or not the state has the right to abridge something that's outside of its limited or statutory governing limits. The Constitution does not reside within the state. The Constitution resides outside of the state. Therefore, only a federal court can determine whether or not the federal Constitution has been abridged. That's why constitutional law 171 says that federal courts and state courts are equally obligated to guard and enforce every right secured by and enumerated in the Constitution of the United States of America. So when the Constitution says in Clause 1 of Amendment 5, that's certainly part of the Constitution. I don't think anybody's arguing that. Clause 1 of Amendment 5 was adopted and ratified by the people on December 15th, 1791 in all intents and purposes. Lawfully ratified and adopted by the people of the United States. It is part of the Constitution. And because Article 6 says the judges in every state are bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding, that means that no state judge can decide to rely upon an inferior state law that abridges the guarantees of the Constitution of the United States of America, because they're bound by oath or affirmation to support it. When a state judge swears an oath with both the Constitution of the United States of America and the state constitution, there is no conflict that exists. Don't get yourself wrong. Because the state constitutions within the first article, every single one of them, look them up. The state constitutions all put themselves in subjection to the Constitution of the United States of America somewhere within the first article. In fact, state of North Dakota. State of North Dakota says within Article 1, Section 3, Article 1, Section 3, it says, the state of North Dakota is an inseparable part of the American Union, and the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land. North Dakota is an inseparable part of the American Union, meaning that they must be a part of the Union, and the only thing that makes the Union is the Constitution of the United States of America. Therefore, that statement right there says that the state of North Dakota must be inseparable to the Constitution of the United States of America. So when the state of North Dakota decided that they're not going to do an indictment by grand jury, this is one of the 13 states that do not conduct a grand jury at all. North Dakota does not do it because they said we don't have to. They said that the Fifth Amendment doesn't apply to us, the Constitution doesn't apply to us, and is that an inseparable part of the American Union? Absolutely not. That is an act of sedition done by traitors to the nation, because they are attempting to amend the Constitution of the United States of America in an other than lawful manner. But more importantly, the second half of this says that the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land. United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land. United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land. What that says is that this Constitution is in subjection to that Constitution. Which means that if a judge has a conflict in law If he's not sure whether he's supposed to have an indictment by a grand jury or not have it, because this Constitution says you don't have to have it, but the United States Constitution says you must have it, this Constitution says, oh, that one is supreme to me. You got to follow that one, Judge. So anytime that there's a conflict of law, every single state constitution has placed itself into subjection to the United States Constitution. And as a result, very simply, those judges may not rely upon an inferior state law to deprive a person of something that is guaranteed and that they are obligated to provide under the Constitution of the United States of America. This is our issue. These states are not sovereign. They don't have the right to be able to do whatever the fuck they want to do. They can't pick and choose which parts of the Constitution they want to follow because they are an inseparable part of the American Union. And the only thing that makes America America is American law. It's Constitution of the United States of America. That is the only thing that makes America America. So judges, you do not have the authority to rely upon a state constitution that is in conflict with the Constitution of the United States of America. This Constitution is garbage. It does nothing. It serves no purpose other than to confuse the people of the United States and to create discourse across the country and to treat people unequally. That's it. I'm in Colorado right now, getting ready to do a town hall meeting here at between 3 and 6. I'd love for you guys to show up. If you guys are in Colorado, come on out, man. Come out and listen to what I got to say. Ask me questions. Meet me. Love me, hate me, whatever. But come out. Right? But if you're not, then you guys, it'll be streamed live as well. Right? I hope that we have a turnout because I'm out of money again. I'm down to my last $4, guys. I'm doing what I can to try to organize and help all of you. I can beat the state of Washington in my sleep. In my sleep. Because Clause 1 of Amendment 5 to the United States Constitution says, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment or indictment of a grand jury. That's pretty clear. You better have an indictment by a grand jury before arresting someone, holding them over for a capital or infamous crime. However, Article 1, Section 26 of the Washington State's Constitution says, no grand jury shall be drawn or summoned in any county. No grand jury shall be drawn or summoned in any county. So now we have a state inferior constitution that says we're not going to do what the Constitution of the United States of America clearly says that we must do. Now you got a supremacy issue. Now we got to decide which law is supreme. Is the Constitution of the United States of America supreme? And if so, state constitution, state of Washington, your inferior constitution is now unconstitutional. Which means that every contract that you created, state of Washington, relying upon that provision, which is every single criminal matter in the history of the state, are all void. Because those contracts are created based upon an inferior, unconstitutional state statute that is in direct violation of the United States of America's Constitution. Okay? I could beat the state of Washington in my sleep. I don't want to beat the state of Washington. I want to get the people of the United States the rights that they're guaranteed by their birthright. They're codified and enumerated in the Constitution of the United States of America because I believe in America. I believe in that law. I believe in its supremacy and its power. I believe that it is supreme to all this other bullshit that these states are creating. That's what I believe in. That's my faith. That's why I'm out here doing this. I'm not impacted by the state of Colorado or by the state of Illinois. It doesn't do me an ounce of good to go to Colorado or Illinois or any of these other states because I'm not impacted by those laws. I could win this case. I could beat the state of Washington and be done, but I don't want to be done. I want you guys to have your rights because I have the ability to do this. I've been trained to do this. I'm knowledgeable in this. This is what I fight criminals, guys. That's what my degree is. That's what I've done my entire life. I deal with law enforcement. And I've determined that the criminals are not the people because their crimes derive from the criminal acts of our government. I want government to be held accountable for the crimes they commit in leading the people of the United States toward their criminality. They are responsible for the crime here in America because they themselves are criminals. So the reason why I'm here in Colorado is because I can't sue the state of Colorado. The 11th Amendment would foreclose on my ability to sue the state of Colorado. So all the people that are here in Colorado that have been charged by information, not by indictment, I can't provide relief for you personally. because I am not impacted by the laws of the state of Colorado. But here in the state of Colorado, Mr. Jakowski, he is. I served on his behalf here in the state of Colorado with the affidavit saying that he's in the same procedural situation. That the state of Colorado enacted its own alternative legislation, substituted it for the guarantees of the Constitution, directed its agents, the prosecutors, to go out and enforce that inferior state law in violation of the Constitution of the United States. And when they did that, that officer is now committing the crime of deprivation of rights under color of law. That is a per se crime, which means that I don't have to prove that they intended to breach their obligation. All I got to do is show that they had an obligation and they didn't fulfill it. And in doing so, there is no right to self-defense for public officials. They can't say, oh, I broke the law, or I broke the Constitution for this reason. There is no right to breaking the Constitution, because their willfulness and their knowledge derives from the promise they make. You make a promise to the Constitution, you say you will be bound, you will do what it says, and you don't do it, you've already implicitly invited punishment in the form of perjury should you fail to fulfill that promise. And perjury is a violation of public trust, meaning you can't be trusted by the public to fulfill your duties, therefore you can never hold public office. That is a per se crime. All I have to do is show that they had an obligation. They didn't do the obligation. Now they're discharged under the laws of perjury, right? And they've already implicitly invited punishment in form of perjury. That's why there is no finding of facts for public officials. You do not bring them into a trial. Public officials, judges, prosecutors, you are not going to get a trial on this, because your crimes are based upon the willfulness and knowledge deriving from the promise you made, the oath that you took, and the promise that you will be guilty of the crime of perjury if you fail to fulfill that promise. That's why Article 3 of the Constitution says the trial of all crimes, with the exception of impeachment, shall be by jury, and the trial shall occur in the state where in which the crime is said to have been committed. Why is it that impeachment doesn't require a trial by jury? Because impeachment is a per se crime. All I have to do is show Constitution required you to do something and you didn't do it. Now you are impeached without a finding of facts, without a jury trial, because you have already implicitly invited punishment in the form of perjury if you fail to fulfill that promise. This is easy, guys. Much easier than any one of you would ever dream it to be. But I need all of you to get behind me and say, that same thing happened to me, because it's going to be all of you for me. Let me litigate this for you. Let me advocate for you on this. I built this for 9 years. I've given up my life to fight for this country and to fight for all of you. We are there. But we can't afford any divisions. We can't afford any discourse. We can't afford anyone trying to reinvent the wheel that's already been invented. We need everybody to get me the affidavits that says, yes, that exact same thing happened to me. And when that happens, I will successfully litigate this against the state of Washington. And when I beat the state of Washington, because I've now enjoined 44 other states, right, by serving the highest executive officer, the highest law enforcement officer, the attorney general of the state, and also the highest judicial officer of the Supreme Courts, because I've served those states with actual affidavits of crimes that are being committed by their agents under their watch by someone that lives within their jurisdiction. We already have the suit. It's already built. This class action is done. 44 states have been served notice of this class action. Whether they realize it or not is irrelevant, because I already have a person that is now meeting me at my level, and when I litigate, we get what's called vicarious relief. That's the effect of a class action habeas corpus. Vicarious relief, meaning that if one petitioner overcomes the procedural situation, all petitioners will overcome the procedural situation. That's why I'm getting all of you in the same procedural situation. That's why I'm saying to you, I don't want to know your case. I don't want to know the details of what that prosecutor CPS did to you. What I want to know is, was a crime committed against you and your family? Yes. When was that crime committed? When someone believed that they had the authority to interfere with your family, right, without lawful authority in violation of the Constitution of the United States because they relied upon an inferior state statute. That's your procedural situation. I don't care who that person was, because that person didn't have the authority to do it. So it is a person portraying themselves as an agent of the state, did deprive you of rights guaranteed by the Constitution, incorporated by Roberts v. United States, when they chose to interfere with your familial unit and deprive you of a relationship with your child. Right? That's the familial unit. Or the procedural situation is when the state decided to enact a law that says we're not going to have an indictment, even though the Constitution of the United States says you must have it. When that agent decided to rely upon the imperial state statute to go out and to arrest you without lawful authority, that arrest is unconstitutional. That's the only moment that we got to talk about. Nothing else, because that's the moment that your constitutional rights were abridged. That's the moment that that agent's committed a crime, and that's the only thing that matters, because the moment we show a crime was committed in the pursuance of an outcome, that outcome is unlawful because it derives from an unlawful act. If you commit a crime, government, in the pursuance of an outcome, your outcome is void. We're not going to challenge the judgment because there is no judgment, because you broke the law at the arrest. And if you broke the law at the arrest, then everything that drives from that arrest is all fruit of the poisonous tree. It is all void. It is all unconstitutional because it drives from a constitutional breach of obligation, a breaking of the Constitution the moment that they performed an arrest. Whether they thought they could do it or not is irrelevant. Whether the state created the law or not is irrelevant. The Constitution of the United States forecloses upon the use of information as a charging instrument for felonies or capital crimes. Period. Period. No denying that. This government is crickets on this issue. They have no response other than one, the Fifth Amendment doesn't apply to us, or two, yes, we're aware it's unconstitutional, but we're going to continue to enforce it until directed otherwise. Who directs them to do it otherwise? The Supreme Court of the United States. Guys, I've also heard a number of times here recently, people are talking about the Article 3 courts. Article 3 courts. And people are saying, oh, the Court of Claims, the Federal Court of Claims is the Article 3 court, or the state Supreme Courts are Article 3 courts. Guys, don't listen to that stupid bullshit, because that's stupid bullshit, okay? Article 3 of the United States Constitution only created one court. One court. The only Article 3 court in the country is the United States Supreme Court. No other court in the country was created by Article 3. So if you're going to come and say, oh, the state Supreme Courts are Article 3 courts, no, they're not. Because Article 3 only created the Supreme Court of the United States. Go ahead and read it, guys. Go ahead and read it. The only court that was created by Article 3 is the Supreme Court of the United States. That is the only Article 3 court in the country. Only one. Only fucking one. So when people tell you something and you guys go and you just rely upon it, you say, oh, this sounds good, and you go and spread it around, it's misinformation, guys. It's causing division. It's causing diversion. It's causing chaos within what we're organizing here, and that's exactly what they want. They want to break this down. They want to destruct us, right? Because what we're doing is effective. We're going to win. We're going to win. But it needs to be all for one, and when I win, it will be one for all. You will be empowered with what you need at that moment. If you are in the same procedural situation, whether you submit me an affidavit or not, if you are in the same procedural situation, if the state has taken action against you and decided it was going to be the judge in the case against you, if that happened, doesn't matter whether it's a guardianship case, doesn't matter whether it's a CPS case, doesn't matter whether it's a criminal case. If the state brought an accusation against you by any one of its agents and that state decided it was going to judge that case, you are in the same procedural situation. The same procedural situation. And all that has to happen is one litigant overcomes the habeas corpus that's already at the Supreme Court, that I'm running around the country like a crazy man, fucking holding these rallies and town hall meetings for all of you, to organize you, to get you to understand, right? If one petitioner overcomes the procedural situation, I will provide vicarious relief to all of you, and the only thing that any one of you will have to do at that moment is not submit a habeas. You're not going to have to argue the argument. All you have to do is submit a motion to vacate judgment to the court that rendered the decision, right, without lawful authority, whether that's an adoption, whether it's a TPR, whether it's a criminal adjudication. Doesn't matter whether you pled guilty, doesn't matter whether you're found guilty. If you're in the same procedural situation, whether you submit me an affidavit or not, all you have to do is submit a motion to vacate judgment, and that court will have no choice but to vacate it, because I will have provided the power from above down to you. I'm fighting for all of you, and it would really be beneficial for all of us if you stop fighting with me. You work with me, and we get this done. because we can do this before the end of this year. We can do it. If I return to DC with a 500,000 crime affidavits, I already have been told that this is going to go uncontested by the Solicitor General. Because any argument that the Solicitor General presents in conflict with this would be seditious in nature. They're going to let this go unopposed. Right? 500,000 affidavits from actual victims of these crimes that have been committed across this country. We are going to meet that. We are going to exceed that. But I want you guys to work with me here. Right? I want you guys to work with me, not against me. Because the more you guys work with me, the quicker we'll get this shit done. But if you jump on board with any Tom, Dick, or Harry that comes along with the same idea that I've already presented, right? Barbara Stone, you simply did what my idea was, right? I mean, these people, they're simply taking what I'm doing and they're saying, I can do that too, and then they fall flat on their face, right? If they come forward with an idea that is the same idea, and if you can't come up with your own plan and you need to use line, then don't think that you're going to win either. I've been at this for 9 years. 6 years ago, I prepared a mass habeas corpus. 6 years ago, we submitted 4,000 habeas corpuses. We shut down the District Court of the state of Washington over that period of time. They had to bring in judges from other states in order to handle their workload because we had 4,000 writs of habeas corpus for the exact same issue submitted between April 10th, 2019 and September 2019. We shut down the court with habeas corpuses. We did that 6 years ago. So if you're going to try to do a mass writ of habeas corpus now, I'm going to tell you, you got a long journey ahead of you. You're going to have to do the same shit that I'm doing, getting out here and organizing the country, right? On your own dime because no one's supporting it, right? I can't get paid for the things I do because I'm not an attorney. We all know that. I'm an advocate. Advocates can't be paid for the work that they do. I can only operate on donations. I can't be paid for what I do or else they'll arrest me. You guys know this bullshit, right? I'm out here doing this because I want to see you guys get these fucking rights. I want to see you guys get out of these prisons. I want to see you guys get back home to your families or get your children back to you. I want to see that shit. That's why I'm doing this. I'm here in Denver, not because of my own health, not because of my own fame, not because I'm making money, but because Denver, Colorado is the capital of the state of Colorado, and Colorado's doing the same shit to the people of the United States that I'm trying to fight against. We do the same shit. I don't want to just beat Washington. I want Colorado to be held accountable too. I want to advocate for the people here in Colorado that have rights, whose rights have been taken without lawful authority by an institution that is seeking to simply advance their financial institutions, right? And their financial interests. That's what I want. That's why tomorrow I'm supposed to be in Salt Lake City, Utah. Not because I'm making money, not because I'm famous. Fuck you guys. Most of you fucking hate me anyway, right? So the problem is that I'm not doing this because this is for my health. I'm doing this because this is how you do a class action. This is how you do a mass class action together. That's why the affidavits are so important. Because if I show up in DC with 500,000 affidavits that show that the exact same crime was committed in the exact same manner by all these states, guess what, man? They're not going to shut that down. We've got a rally planned for June 7th through the 9th, or June 7th and 8th in DC. We're gonna get that, right? There's some stuff that's happening. I can't tell you about it yet. I can't tell you about it yet, but there's some big things that's about to happen. Big things, right? I was invited to speak at a major conference that is going to absolutely make this explode. It's absolutely God's will, God's divine timing. It's going to happen. When that goes down, right? When that goes down, we're going to have about 3 weeks, right? 2 weeks of just nonstop, holy shit, what just went down, right? Because as of that moment, these seeds that I'm planting across these states by traveling across and doing all this work that I'm doing here, right? These seeds that I planted, there's going to be people within all these states that are already going to have this knowledge, already have this information. And when we go national with this, in just a couple weeks, when we go national with this, it's going to go back to all these states, and those people that already have this knowledge, you guys are going to light this shit on fire. And the moment you light this shit on fire, it's done. We will have beat the algorithm. We will have exceeded their blocks. We will have moved this into the national front. And as of that moment, I'm praying that I have the protection I need to be able to make it the last couple weeks into Washington, D.C. But I promise you, I said 2.5 years ago when I first started planning this tour, right? I said 2.5 years ago, it is going to be 32 press conferences, right? 32 states over the course of 40 days, ending in Washington, D.C., where there won't be a single news station in the country that won't be there to meet me, greet me, and watch me as I walk in the Supreme Court of the United States to deliver oral arguments on behalf of people in the United States for the deprivation of rights and freedoms that have been robbed from them by this government. I'm a man of my word, and we're on track to make this happen. The last press conference is in New York, and there's going to be big things going on in New York. You guys already know that I served the state of New York on behalf of Donald J. Trump. You guys all know that. I served the Attorney General and I served the Supreme Court on his behalf. That's not a coincidence, you guys. We're going to make this happen. I want you guys to get behind me. I need you guys to share my content. I need you guys to help. This next 30 days is going to be so critical for all of you to help me make this happen. Because it must be all for one, so that one can deliver for all. I will deliver on this. That's what this 40 days is about. I am preparing my arguments right now. That's why these town hall meetings and stuff, yeah, I'm talking over the head of a lot of people, right? But I'm talking over the head of a lot of people because I'm preparing for an argument with the 9 most powerful men in the world, men and women in the world. I'm preparing for that argument. You guys are getting me ready for this. This is my training to get there, right? And if we're called to follow Christ, why would we expect to spend any less than 40 days out in the desert before you return into the city? This is my training, guys. You guys are getting me ready. But I need you guys to get out there. I need you guys to support this. I need you guys to share this. I need you guys to reach out to your family in Denver, your family in Salt Lake City, your family in Las Vegas, any one of these other tour stops. I need you guys to get out there. I need you to share it. Your friends that are there, your friends of friends. I need you got to repost this stuff. You've got to share this stuff. That's the only way that this is going to be successful. The only way. I don't have the contacts that you guys have. There was a guy that just called me a few minutes ago, right? I'd never talked to him before. He lives in Denver. He just happened to come across my flyer and is like, I don't even know what this is. I don't know what you're doing, but I have a group that has 180 people here in Denver, Colorado. We would like to support you, right? He just by accident came across my information. He doesn't know if he's going to be able to get anybody there, but even still, you guys have the contacts within your areas, right? You have those contacts. You guys know people within that area. If I'm coming to Charlotte, North Carolina, I don't know anybody in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I'm coming there for you guys. If you're there or you have family there, then you should share this and give them advance notice. Prepare them for it. Help me find a place. I don't even know what neighbors are good. When we did the event down in Oklahoma, we were in a crappy part of town, and it's not surprising that hardly anybody showed up. I didn't know that. I just simply went and said, well, here's the facility that has something available, but it wasn't the right one because I didn't know the area. You guys do. You guys can help me. These libraries, right? They offer free facilities, right? 100 people can come in. You know, the first civic center that we're getting is going to be down in Albuquerque. And so I'm praying that Albuquerque is going to blow up, right? I'm praying that Las Vegas is going to blow up, you know, but that's still a week out from now. But the first civic center is going to be in Albuquerque. We're looking at another civic center in Mobile. But in order for this to happen, it's got to spread. You guys got to help me do it. You got to get the word out into your area because you all have contacts within your area. Okay? So I'm also going to be doing these Zoom meetings. This Zoom meeting that we have next week is going to be an excellent one. On May 1st, it's going to be an awesome Zoom meeting. I have a couple prosecutors, elected prosecutors, that are going to be on asking me questions that are in support of this. Prosecuting attorneys, right? State prosecuting attorneys that are in support, that are going to ask me questions. We have advocate groups from North Carolina that's going to be on. We have advocate groups from Florida that's going to be on. We have a number of people that are going to be on asking me questions, difficult questions, real questions, legitimate ones. And I'm going to be there to respond in front of all of you. We got capacity for 1,000 people on that Zoom meeting, right? I would suggest you guys get on it. But we're going to try to do that a couple times a week over the next couple weeks here, so that you guys can get involved. If I'm not coming to your city, I'm sorry. But we only have so much time and so much capacity and so much money. Again, I'm out. I'm relying upon you guys to get me out of Denver here and over to the next stop in Salt Lake. I can't do it on my own. We do have Cash App, Chime, Venmo, PayPal. They're all exactly the same, you guys. Every single dollar you guys send goes to this. Every single cent that I've gotten for 9 years doesn't go to kids' orthodontist bills or retirement accounts. It goes to fucking this. Every single cent goes to how can I get from point A to point B and deliver on this promise that I made to all of you. Cash App, Chime, Venmo, PayPal, they're all exact same. We shall be free. I can only operate on donation only. I'm not an attorney. I will not prepare legal documents for your individual cases because that's going to be the way that they want to hem me up. They're not going to hem me up. But I can advocate on behalf of the collective because I personally have served the state attorney generals on behalf of the collective. Therefore, the state attorney generals and all the attorneys within the state are now implicated in the criminal conspiracy to undermine the laws of the United States. No attorney can represent the people on this issue. Therefore, who's going to represent the people? Well, let's say an expert in substantive law. Let's say an advocate this time. Me. I'm going to advocate. I'm going to fill the role of the private attorney general because all these attorney generals are now opposing party to you. They can't represent you because they're an opposing party, because they're enforcing unconstitutional laws. They're violating the will of the people. That's what they're doing. I'm building this so that no one else can litigate this but me. Because there isn't a single attorney general in 44 states now that can represent the people because they're all opposing party for their failure to take action to mitigate their criminality within the criminal conspiracy that I identified for them. I'm in opposition with the attorney generals. I'm the one that caused the recusal. And every attorney works for the attorney general. Attorney general, right? Attorney. So no attorney can come over and represent the people on this because they are all breaking the Constitution and the will of the people. So who's going to litigate this? Who's going to represent the people? Me. I will step in. That's why I'm returning to D.C. with 500,000 criminal affidavits to say to the executive branch, you must empower me with the authority to be able to deal with this case. You must appoint me a private attorney general. And he will. He will. Because he's not going to have a choice, because all of you are going to be behind me. You all are going to say, I want that guy to handle this for me. And I'm doing it for free. Okay? So, we're getting in on indictments. We're getting in because that's an enumerated right that's been violated by these states. It's written right there. We can all see it. That right there, it says I was supposed to have an indictment by a grand jury and I didn't get it. Right? It says I was supposed to have an indictment by a grand jury, but that prosecutor denied me the right to be present to benefit from the very proceeding that exists for my protection from the prosecutor. Thank you so much for those gifts, guys. I really appreciate the support you guys have provided. Thank you so much. When the prosecutor denies you the right to be present to benefit from the proceeding that exists for the protection from the prosecutor, that crime of obstruction of justice has occurred, which means that if you were not present in the grand jury to confront the accusations against you, there is no indictment. There is no indictment because that indictment derives from the obstruction of justice committed by the prosecutor when they denied you the right to be present to benefit from the proceeding that exists for your protection from the prosecutor. Very simple. Once the indictment is rendered void because you were not present in that grand jury to confront the hearsay accusations against you and benefit from the very proceeding that exists for your protection from the prosecutor, that indictment isn't real, it's void, and now you've been charged by information. And now we're at the same issue. And that is 2.8 million of the current 2.9 million prisoners. 2.8 million of the current 2.9 million people would see immediate relief, immediate vacation of their judgment. And you know what? If the arrest is unconstitutional and the unconstitutional act reverses the judgment, rendering it void, then guess what? That's where double jeopardy comes into play, which means that all of these crimes can never, ever, ever be adjudicated ever again. They're barred. The government is barred from ever being able to prosecute you on anything that is collected unconstitutionally, any evidence collected unconstitutionally. Therefore, we are giving an opportunity for our people to get their life back, to be given an opportunity to be free, to be protected by the laws that they're guaranteed by their birthright to be protected by, and to get America out of the slavery fucking institution once and for all. To destroy what the elites have built and created at the expense of our citizenry and the involuntary servitude of our own people, the weakest and most vulnerable in our society. They are profiting off of them in for-profit businesses for the direct benefit of the state. Victoria's Secret, we're coming after you. McDonald's, we're coming after you. Northrop Grumman, we're coming after you. Lockheed Martin, we're coming after you. General Dynamics, we're coming after you, because all of these corporations that is forcing prisoners into involuntary servitude so that they can profit off of them. Those acts of involuntary servitude, those contracts are all void, which means that your imprisonment, your enslavement, the people that built those corporations, right, at your benefit, your financial gain, they're going to own these corporations. This is going to be theirs, because as soon as we're done with this, we're going after the Clayton Sherman, after the antitrust violation, and we're going to secure those corporations that were built on the backs of our people through involuntary servitude, and those people are the rightful owners of those corporations. And I guarantee you, Victoria's Secret, if you don't get on board with this, I guarantee you, Northrop Grumman and General Dynamics, if you don't get behind this, we will own your corporation through this antitrust suit. We'll own it. Okay? So the indictments get us in, but what I'm arguing is not indictments. The presentment that I will give to the United States Supreme Court is not about indictments. The presentment is, can a state be both accuser and judge in the same cause? No, it cannot ever be both accuser and judge in the same cause, because of the obvious conflict of interest that exists when the same body of men create a law, bring the accusation, judge it, and then profit off the involuntary servitude of the people that they deem criminals. Codified in Article 3, Section 2, when it says, in all cases in which a state shall be party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. The federal judicial authority of the Union applies to any case in which a state and the citizens are in dispute with one another. So if CPS brought an accusation against you, CPS is an agent of the state. They are enforcing the laws of the state. Don't get it wrong. They are absolutely an agent of the state. That gal is absolutely an agent of the state, right? That judge is an agent of the state. Law enforcement is an agent of the state. Prosecutor is an agent of the state. And every single attorney is an agent of the state. Why? Because they're all administrative officers of the court, and the court is the state. So if you are an administrative officer of the court enforcing state laws, because that's what the University of Tennessee taught you to do, right? If you are working for the Attorney General as an attorney, then guess what? You're an agent of the state. You're all in opposition. You're all opposing party as of this moment. There isn't a single attorney that is not opposing party to the claim that we're bringing. Because if an attorney brings an accusation against you in your family court, that is the state that's brought an accusation against you, because that's an agent of the state. Because they're an administrative officer of the court. The court is nothing more than a state entity. So if you're in family court and your husband had an attorney and your husband ended up getting all of it, including your children, of the state, therefore, that judge has an automatic, mandatory, non-waivable, self-executing duty to recuse himself, codified in Title 28, subsection 455. And failure to do so means that judge is acting without jurisdiction, because the court lacks jurisdiction. If the court lacks jurisdiction, whatever that court produces is without jurisdiction, therefore void under Civil Rule 60b-4. We're going to address this conflict of interest very, very easily, because James Madison stated in the Federalist number 10 that a state cannot be both party and judge in the same cause. Alexander Hamilton stated in the Federalist number 80 that a state cannot be both accuser and judge. John Jay stated in Martin v. Hunter's lessee that a state cannot be both accuser and judge. Title 28, subsection 455 says that a state cannot be both accuser and judge. Constitution of the United States, Article 3 says that a state cannot be both accuser and judge. So, why are these states accusing you through their prosecuting attorney, through CPS, through an agent of the state being an attorney? Why are they bringing accusation against you and that judge is failing to recuse himself? We all know, United States versus Hill, that anytime a judge acts when he lacks jurisdiction, he's committing the crime of treason and warring against the Constitution. These judges all had to recuse themselves. Not one of them had authority to be able to take action because they all work for the plaintiff. And that's why Title 28, subsection 455 says that a judge has a mandatory, non-waivable, self-executing duty to recuse himself if he is an officer of either party. And these are judicial officers of the state. They have an automatic, mandatory, self-executing, non-waivable duty to recuse themselves, and failure to recuse means you are warring against the Constitution and committing the crime of treason. Refer to United States versus Hill. Which means that if the judge is acting where they lack jurisdiction, that's because the court lacked jurisdiction. And if the court lacks jurisdiction, everything that court produces is without lawful authority, completely void, without force or effect on the parties involved in dispute under Civil Rule 60b-4. All right? So let's all get together, guys. Let's all get together now. Let's work together. If you guys want to share my videos, repost them, get this information out there. Help me help you. Let's get this done. We got 32 days left to do it, okay? 32 days. If you guys are in Denver, come out, shake my hand, love me, hate me, ask me questions, debate me on an issue. Help me get ready for this proceeding, okay? If you're on TikTok and you want to repost, all you got to do is go down here into this area right here. There's a little 3 dots, right? Or a little arrow, circle arrow. Tap on it. You'll come up into this area right around in here, and there's a little orange box that says repost. Repost every video. Repost it. The reposting is what gets this back out of the queue. That's what shares it with more people. The more you repost, the more this information is going to spread, and the sooner we're going to be done with this. Don't buy into new ideas, right? Because new ideas are not new. They're reinventing the wheel. We don't need another mass habeas corpus because it's already been done. Okay? We don't need anyone else to prepare the argument. All I need is all of you to get behind me. Let me litigate this. Give me another 32 days. I'll deliver this to the court. Meet me in Washington, D.C. And let's take this fucking animal down. Let's take this fucking beast down. The beast does not stand a chance against what we prepared against it. But I need you guys to get behind me so that I can deliver to you what you need to be empowered to win your case, to vacate judgment. You will be empowered with what you need to beat that judge and that prosecutor or that CPS in your case. And it doesn't matter whether you pled guilty. It doesn't matter whether you were found guilty. It doesn't matter whether they adopted the child or TPR'd you. None of that is valid because it all derives from a court that did not have authority to do anything. Nothing. Therefore, everything that court produced is nothing, void, nothing to appeal, nothing to argue, nothing exists because the court didn't have the authority to do what the court thought that they could do. And that's the one issue that I'm litigating on all of your behalf. All of it. I'm showing that they did not have authority to do it. Let me do that. And when I do that, we'll all win. Because it's all for one and one for all. All for one and one for all. You all get behind me, empower me to walk in that court and to advocate for you. And when I do, I will send help down from that court to your court, and you will be empowered with what you need to resolve whatever bullshit they did to you in depriving you of your family, of your freedoms, guaranteed by your birthright. I promise you, that's what I can do. That's all I've been promising for 9 years. right? And that's why I'm traveling around the country like a crazy man, looking like a fucking idiot, asking you guys for money, is because this is all that I do now. I've given up my life to fight this for all of you because I love my country and I want to see my country be successful. But the only thing that makes America America is what I'm fighting for. Everything else is destroying our country. The state statutes, the state constitutions, they're destroying what we love. Stand up and fucking help me fight for what we love before we no longer have it to fight for anymore. If you guys want to donate, we have Cash App, Chime, Venmo, PayPal. I need the money. I'm down to my last $4, guys. $4. I'm supposed to be in Salt Lake City tomorrow. You know, whatever. If I have to hitchhike, you guys know I'll just continue to do it. But you guys could make my life a whole lot easier by supporting me. We have Cash App, Chime, Venmo, PayPal. They're all exact the same. So we shall be free. It's WESHALLBEFREE. If anybody comes at you with a different Venmo, Cash App, Chime, PayPal, they are the scum of the earth, stealing from you and stealing from me and stealing from this cause. And those people will absolutely be ashamed of what they've done, right? They will be ashamed for the disgusting, despicable, and dishonorable actions that they've done. And I guarantee you that you will be found out who you are. And there's a lot of people that like me that are not the type of people that you want to fuck with. So, you know, I would suggest that you just go ahead and go back to whatever rock you were in. Go hide yourself there, because if the people that are behind me find out who you are, I can't control what they're going to do, because they're very, very pissed off that you are taking from this effort from people that don't have any money to be able to support anyway. You're stealing from them, right? It's going to be really bad for you. Really bad. Because the people that are behind me are not people you want to fuck with. I'm just saying that. For whatever that's worth. Thank you guys so much. I need to go get ready. We just got a couple hours. If you guys are in Denver, come on out. If you guys are in Salt Lake, come on out. You guys are in Sacramento, come on out. Guys, LA, Long Beach, those are the ones that are coming up. Carson City is coming up. Las Vegas on the 5th of May. Get out and visit with it. Come out and listen to what I got to say. Get the paperwork, fill it out, get on board with this, and empower me to help you and your family get the freedoms back that you've been deprived, okay? Please share, please comment, please repost, and let's get this information going as quickly as possible. I'll read these comments and I'll respond as I can. Thank you guys so much for everything you've done. Thank you guys so much for your attention. Thank you guys so much for being there for me and with me throughout this. God bless and have a great rest of your day, all right? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, YouTube. Appreciate everything here. Appreciate TikTok. I'll read all